which has allowed theories over the decades to foster. When the American people and members of Congress ask, "Are reports of UAPs critical, credible?" we're met with stonewalling. We're met with responses of, "I can't tell you." And in fact, we're met with people not wanting us to have hearings. During a recent congressional hearing, former Pentagon intelligence officer Luis Elizondo was asked directly if he had been briefed on UAP crash retrievals. His response was immediate but evasive. He refused to answer in the public session, claiming he had signed documentation restricting his ability to discuss crash retrievals specifically. At another House Oversight Committee hearing, former intelligence officer David Grush was pressed about secret crash retrieval programs. He similarly refused to elaborate beyond his previous public statements. When NASA Administrator Bill Nelson was asked about claims that the U.S. had reverse-engineered alien spacecraft, he deflected the question entirely. Rather than providing a clear denial, Nelson shifted the burden of proof back to the questioner. These aren't denials. They're calculated evasions from officials at the center of UAP investigations, refusing to answer straightforward questions asked by Congress in full public view. The question becomes, what could be so sensitive that these officials can't simply say no if there's nothing to hide? For far too long, critical information about UAPs has been either classified or ignored, leaving the American public and key congressmen without clarity needed to make informed decisions. Congress is asking the ultimate questions about non-human intelligence and recovered technology. Officials respond with practiced silence. They invoke national security protocols, classification restrictions, and non-disclosure agreements instead of providing clear answers. This pattern of evasion isn't random or accidental. It's calculated, protected, and deliberately maintained across multiple agencies and hearings. When pressed on specific details about UAP programs, officials consistently retreat behind the shield of classified information. The silence itself reveals something critical. These scientists and intelligence officers aren't denying the claims outright. They're carefully avoiding direct answers. And this deliberate avoidance raises the most important question. What exactly are they hiding behind these walls of secrecy? NASA's contradictions. NASA eagerly promotes missions searching for microbial life throughout our solar system. Their scientists openly discuss the possibility of life on Mars, beneath the ice of Europa, or in the subsurface oceans of Enceladus. Press conferences celebrate the smallest methane detection on Mars as a potential biosignature. Billions of dollars fund these extraterrestrial life-hunting missions. Yet, when questioned about unidentified objects in Earth's own atmosphere, NASA's tone shifts dramatically. Suddenly, they demand verifiable evidence and insist on extraordinary proof. The same agency enthusiastic about finding microbial life millions of miles away becomes remarkably hesitant about investigating potential non-human technology here at home. This stark contrast is telling. NASA scientists face no career repercussions for speculating about primitive alien life in deep space. But those same scientists become notably cautious when discussing advanced technology in our airspace. The message seems clear. Speculation about extraterrestrial life is acceptable, but only when it's safely distant and primitive, never when it might be present and advanced. Censorship and scientific fear. Scientists face an invisible boundary when it comes to UAP research. Those who venture into this territory report subtle but unmistakable career obstacles. Funding mysteriously dries up. Speaking invitations disappear. Promotion committees suddenly find issues with their work. Prestigious researchers privately admit they avoid the UAP topic entirely, not because of scientific skepticism but fear of professional repercussions. One NASA-affiliated scientist confided that colleagues were warned against associating with certain UAP research projects despite having relevant expertise. Within aerospace agencies, these boundaries aren't drawn based on scientific merit but political sensitivity. Topics become informally classified as career-limiting moves without any official policy. Department heads discourage controversial research directions during performance reviews without explicitly mentioning UAPs. This environment breeds a culture of self-censorship. Scientists learn to avoid certain questions regardless of their legitimacy. Research proposals are carefully worded to exclude UAP connections. Public statements are sanitized of speculation. The result is a systemic blind spot in scientific inquiry, not because the questions lack merit, but because asking them carries too high a professional cost. What do you think is the real reason officials refuse to answer these questions directly? Drop your theory in the comments below. What's happening right now? New classified briefings on UAP programs have been scheduled for congressional intelligence committees. Unlike previous sessions, these briefings will reportedly include physical evidence, documentation previously withheld from lawmakers. NASA's dedicated UAP research division is now operational, yet the agency still refuses to publicly name its director. This unprecedented level of anonymity for a scientific leadership position speaks volumes about the sensitivity surrounding the program. Multiple legal proposals are advancing to strengthen whistleblower protections, specifically for personnel with UAP-related knowledge. These targeted protections suggest authorities anticipate more insiders coming forward with sensitive information. Freedom of Information Act requests related to UAP materials have increased fivefold. Government agencies are fighting these requests with unusual vigor, citing exemptions normally reserved for critical national security matters. The evidence gap between what Congress has seen and what the public knows continues to widen. Several representatives have made cryptic statements after attending closed-door sessions indicating they viewed compelling materials not available to the public. As one congressman noted after emerging from a classified briefing, the American people would be shocked if they saw what we just saw. Why are they refusing to answer? The most compelling explanation for this orchestrated silence may be the most alarming. Officials know too much, not too little. What they've learned could fundamentally alter humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos. Historical documents reveal government concerns about potential religious and social destabilization if certain truths became public knowledge. Legal constraints bind these officials in a web of non-disclosure agreements and security oaths. Many have explicitly stated they face legal jeopardy for speaking openly, with penalties ranging from imprisonment to lifetime financial ruin. These aren't merely bureaucratic barriers. They're deliberate legal shields designed to prevent unauthorized disclosure. National security considerations loom large. Any public admission about recovered non-human technology could expose critical defense vulnerabilities or reveal classified capabilities to adversarial nations. The technological advantage at stake could be so significant that maintaining secrecy outweighs public transparency. International tensions complicate matters further. A unilateral disclosure by the United States could trigger geopolitical instability or an arms race for advanced technology. Multiple nations may be enforcing mutual silence through diplomatic channels, each fearing the consequences of breaking ranks. Decades of internal disinformation campaigns have created barriers even within government. The CIA's Robertson panel explicitly recommended using ridicule to diminish public interest in UFOs. This systematic burial of the topic created institutional cultures where serious inquiry became professionally dangerous. The silence isn't about protecting the public from what isn't known. It's about controlling what can't be risked. The calculated evasions suggest a careful weighing of consequences where officials have determined that continued secrecy, despite its costs to scientific inquiry and public trust, remains the lesser danger. Awkward hearing moments when silence speaks. The body language during UAP hearings reveals more than the transcripts. When directly questioned about recovered materials, officials visibly stiffen. Their eyes break contact, focusing instead on papers before them or fixed points in the distance. This sudden shift in demeanor occurs precisely when the most sensitive questions arise. Micro-expressions of discomfort flash across their faces, a momentary tightening around the eyes, a quick swallow before speaking. These unconscious reactions betray internal conflict between institutional loyalty and complete candor. The requests for private briefings come with telling urgency. I'd prefer to address that in a closed session, is delivered with a subtly different tone than routine procedural statements. There's an undercurrent of relief when questioners accept these deflections. Most revealing are the unnatural pauses. When asked about crash retrievals or biological samples, witnesses fall silent for several seconds, calculating exactly how to navigate dangerous territory. These aren't the natural pauses of someone searching for accurate information. They are the deliberate hesitations of someone mentally reviewing what they're permitted to say. The atmosphere in these hearing rooms changes palpably during such moments. Staffers exchange glances. Committee members lean forward slightly. The tension suggests everyone recognizes the weight of what's not being said, creating silences that communicate more than words. Historical pattern of dodging. This wall of silence isn't new. It's deeply institutionalized. During the 1950s to 1970s, Project Blue Book publicly dismissed UFO sightings while internally classifying the most compelling cases. The Robertson panel explicitly recommended using ridicule as a tool to diminish public interest in the phenomenon. In the early 2000s, the Disclosure Project brought forward military officers, intelligence personnel and government contractors warning of systematic information suppression. FAA officials described being instructed to remain silent about certain aerial encounters. Military witnesses recounted having evidence confiscated. Throughout the 2000s, 2010s to 2020s, as public briefings increased, so did the sophistication of official deflections. The language evolved from outright dismissal to careful non-answers, citing classification barriers. The consistency of this pattern across decades suggests an institutional mechanism designed specifically to maintain silence regardless of the evidence. Why the silence matters. This pattern of evasion transcends the UAP question itself. It reveals a disturbing truth about who controls information in our society. When elected representatives cannot get straight answers from appointed officials, we face a crisis of democratic oversight. The vacuum created by official silence inevitably fills with speculation. But the particular nature of these deflections, the specific ways officials avoid certain questions, suggests something more significant than bureaucratic caution. These are the responses of people navigating around explosive information. What we're witnessing may be the careful management of a truth too disruptive for immediate disclosure. The pattern suggests not an absence of evidence but its deliberate containment. Maybe they're not staying quiet because there's nothing to say. Maybe they're quiet because they've already seen too much. If this investigation left you with questions, you're not alone. Our next report goes even deeper into what whistleblowers are saying behind closed doors. Subscribe now and turn on notifications. The revelations we're uncovering next make this look like just the beginning. We're connecting dots that others won't touch, and we're just getting started.